Yeah, and.
Thank you. All right. Welcome, everyone. I will call to order the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal session for November 7th, 2024. It is 10:01 in the morning, and Commissioner Johnston, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item C is our calendar session. Is there anything to add to calendar? No? Okay, just a reminder, I believe the county offices are closed on Monday, on the 11th for Veterans Day. Item D is public comment. This time period is reserved for public comment on any topic other than an agenda item, like quasi judicial land use matter or a topic scheduled for a public hearing. And so if you are here today for public comment, now is the time to come forward. And if you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will move to item E, which is our department update. And today we have our Human Resources Director, Patricia Rojas. Welcome, Patricia.
Oh,
Good morning.
good morning. Everyone is well. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Good morning. I know it's been a minute since I've done an update for everyone. So just want to say we've had a pretty busy year in HR. And my whole team came with me for moral support and encouragement. We added to our team in February, Krista Stieber. She is our new HR specialist. We do also have Nicole Baraya, who we share with the admin team for some HR part-time services, who is not here, but very, very integral to our team as well. Oracle, we have been plugging away on Oracle. It's been a fun learning experience. We recognize that we still have quite a bit to do with Oracle. There's constant updates. We're looking at sorry, I need to use my glasses here. Redwood user interface is something that we're looking at to help with ease of use for our users. And we're currently testing that to see if, that's something we want to move ahead with. And right now it's looking really, really well. So our team is testing in development, the dev environment to see how we can better prepare our employees for that use and integration. We're also working to update all of the data that we need to do so that we can, out of the box, pull any compliance reports out of there, such as the ACA reports and the EEO4 reports, which will be coming due in 2025. Any questions? I know I'm going to go kind of fast here. So for training, we've been working really closely with the admin team on providing continuing training sessions for management and leadership. And we have those set quarterly for the next year into 2025. The latest training that we did, I delivered that, and it was on having difficult conversations. And I can say that the 3-hour training session went really well. Really good feedback on that one. And
how do you do that? Can you tell us?
Well, there's my 3-pronged approach. No, so it was a lot to cover. It all centered around really getting to know your teams, your employees, the differences, and then adjusting our styles to go forward. The one thing that I know for the leadership, I think, is also just being able to meet with other managers and to be able to network and talk about some common challenges. So it also helps just in that team building space to share some experiences and knowledge. So it was a good opportunity and time well spent, I think. All right, labor, I know that you guys are all intimately aware, the Teamsters contract is close to coming near ratification and hopefully approval. And then that is when our team and finance takes over and we implement that contract. So we'll be really busy working on that and making sure that, that comes through and is compliant and accurate. So there's a lot of steps involved on the back end that we are going to be working hard to make sure we do, especially in light of the holidays and just the timing. FAPA negotiations are going to start in 2025. So again, my team, what we do is we try to help as much as possible with getting all the data from our partnerships in other counties so that as the team who's elected to go into those negotiations have as much information as they need to be able to present and negotiate in good faith. Okay. Speaking of labor, I don't know that we can mention that topic without kind of talking about our investigations and personnel issues. And again, we are doing what we can to support our membership and our managers and leadership teams to make sure that if they do have any kind of employee issues, that we are dealing with it quickly, that we're dealing with it for CBA and making sure we're protecting our employees with due process. So that continues to be pretty heavy and something that we are pretty active in at this time. Any questions? Like I said, I know I'm going pretty fast, so I think one of the biggest new initiatives that we're going to really start to focus on in 2025, we have focused in the past, but I think based on some feedback and some success that we've had with our wellness fairs, we are really going to ramp up our wellness initiatives.
Can you put them like someplace else besides the parking lot?
Yes, I
Okay.
could.
And Kaylee was,
We're hoping for more opportunities in the future.
Oh.
I'm always open to picking a different spot. I know that when we close the parking lot, not everybody's a fan of that. So, but we have had good feedback that it is nice to be able to have it outside. So that was a big thing. The last 3 years, we've continued to have increased attendance, which is really good. And in our 2024 fair that we had in July, we did have a record number of folks getting their blood pressure checked, which is really important. So I think we had close to 140 employees get their blood pressure checked, which is really great. So that was something that we were pretty proud of and that there was a lot of active participation in. With the most stressful time of year coming up, we do stress to our employees that, the holidays for most of us are happy and a good time to relax, but not for everyone. And so we are mindful of that, and we always look at ways to help our employees during this time of year. We have a lot of first responders and responders in the mental health area as well, to making sure we're supporting those employees that provide those services. And then as we look to the future, we are going to be looking at some initiatives that really target some of the 2 biggest health issues for our membership and, see what we can do to help mitigate that in the future while still engaging and making it something that our employees want to engage in. So, and that's obviously very difficult. And of course, the constraints of cost, right? We don't have a budget for that. So doing that within the constraints of what Providence and Kaiser might allow, what the services that they offer. We also do have a new EAP program that came out in September, and they have been full steam ahead with trainings, offerings, webinars, different services, pretty new, robust website as well that we've been testing pretty exhaustively. So, and so far we like what it has to offer. We think it's going to be really good for our employees. Any questions other than perhaps moving it for next year, 2025, which we will keep in mind as well. Speaking of the benefits, we did also add, the standard added a hospital indemnity plan to our benefit offerings. And so one of the things that we really are trying to push and communicate with our employees is the benefits of getting screened annually. And it can be a myriad of health screenings, which just help, right, in your overall health, either a diabetic screen, a doctor's visit to just review your overall health or annual check-in, colon screenings, mammograms, any kind of preventative health screening. If you have a hospital indemnity, accident, or critical illness plan, then you automatically get $50 back from those plans just for getting your benefits or your preventative health screenings done. So it is a very simple plan. If you have that, you're eligible for those $50 from the standard directly. That is at no cost to us. So we're going to be definitely promoting that as well for our employees. We're also highly promoting our Express Care, which is at zero cost to our employees and zero cost to us as the employer. It is helpful for those on our base plan to almost immediately receive care for basic services. So colds, ear infections, allergies, sinus infections, anything like that, cold and flu needs. We're able to go and see those at Express Care facilities at zero cost to the employer or the employer. And so that is a huge benefit that we're also going to be promoting this cold and flu season. Okay. Biggest topic I know too for a lot of folks here in Oregon was paid leave Oregon. So looking at our administration of that and the utilization for this last year, it's currently sitting at about 10% of our membership, a little higher, maybe 10 to 11%. And what we have found is that it tends to be newer employees that are taking advantage of this, employees that were not eligible under the OFLA or the FEMLA, which don't kick in until after a certain amount of months of service. And so PLO is something that they can take advantage of much sooner. And it is paid for directly by the state. There have been a little bit of feedback from the folks that have logged in that it is not the easiest to use, which is expected. It goes through Francis, which is the same system that is used for claiming unemployment benefits. So again, we are prevented from directly assisting anybody with that process. We can provide information, we can guide, we can support on our end, but we can't do it for them. And so that is still something that they have to do on their own. And then coordination from the state has been tricky, but it is improving from what I hear. And as our processes continue to streamline around the offerings that they have, we do see that it is improving. And I think the newness is kind of worn off. And so again, it's usually with the employees that don't have the OFLA or FEMLA available to them. And so, or, the folks that need that extended care past what OFLA or FEMLA can offer. So then that is something that is still available to them. Overall, though, we're seeing that, the good utilization of that benefit for those that truly need it and can help get through some difficult times for them. Okay. Any questions on that? Comments? All right. And then finally, just to speak a little bit to our new team member, Krista, she has been taking over recruitment and getting our presence on NeoGov streamlined and has some great ideas. She's been doing a really good job with getting our recruitments posted and getting all of our new hire orientations up and running. She is fully taken that process over, and then us as a team sit and help with her, which again is pretty important because our face is usually the first face that employees see when they start. So We try to make that as welcoming as possible, as positive as possible. And we have found that that is something that our new employees really appreciate. They don't always remember all the information that comes at them because it is a lot, but they do remember our faces and where we are and how to get a hold of us. So we find that that's very, very helpful. And then again, just something that we keep in mind as an HR team, we have the greatest number of generations in the workforce right now. So keeping that in mind and being able to support our employees, our membership, and staying on top of those trends and those differences for everyone here is something that we take very seriously, and we're constantly looking at ways to improve our programs and how we communicate information to our membership so that, like I said, we have a lot of really great programs that we offer here at the county, great benefits, and making sure that our employees are maximizing the usage of those. And that's what I have.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
No, I just want to say it's been great to have you on board. That's a really difficult job these days.
Very.
And we've had, Ken was in that role at one point, and it's not easy to do it, and you've done it great, and you've got a great team, and they seem to be it's just a lot that you
Yeah.
guys are having to deal with. So thank you all.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
No, thank you, Mary. And I will echo that statement. It is a difficult job, and I couldn't do it if I didn't have the support of a really great team and the support of a good leadership team as well. So, you know, Justin is my direct manager, and then Ken above him. And it is, I'm able to do what I do and stay positive because I know I have the support of some really great people. So,
With
thank
your
you.
average workload that you got going on, do you feel like you're fully staffed or have enough staff?
No, I do not.
How short do you think you?
The industry standard is usually one HR person for every 75 to 100 employees. And currently we are at 4.25 employees.
Right.
So my team works really hard,
Yeah,
and I
Doing
appreciate.
double the work.
So I know that that is something for this team to discuss. And again, we continue to work hard because we know we have the support, and we all feel very passionately about what we do. So I live in this community, and that is also very important to me. So I will continue to work hard to do that.
We
Thank
did
you.
talk about HR staffing earlier this spring. I have a feeling it'll come back
Yeah.
next spring.
Absolutely.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks a lot,
you.
Patricia. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, so that concludes item E, and we are now in item F, which is our work session. And today we have one thing on the agenda. It's review and discussion of the FEMA pre-implementation compliance measures. And our planning director, Ken Friday, is joining us today to bring us up to speed on this issue.
Was trying to think of how to start this, and I think the best way to start this is to say, don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
We know. We know.
The FEMA was sued, and the result and the judgment in the federal lawsuit was that the National Flood Insurance Program in Oregon causes jeopardy to 17 different species. 16 of those are anadromous fish species that are throughout the state. In response to the federal lawsuit, the National Marine Fisheries Service issued biological opinions. A lot of times they refer to it as a BIOP, which is now incorporated as part of the insurance program. This is significant because FEMA provides floodplain development standards that cities and counties must follow to be eligible for flood insurance. And this BIOP will overhaul the flood development standards. FEMA has been working on an environmental impact statement for the implementation plan in response to this BIOP. But they apparently haven't been working fast enough because they got another lawsuit filed against them, and they've been directed to speed this process up. So FEMA announced that they will have a pre-implementation compliance measures, also known as PICM, that will run in parallel with the EIS process. FEMA plans to adjust and then fully implement the final plan in 2027. In the meantime, FEMA is directing participating cities and counties, which we are one, in the floodplain program to select one of 3 PICM options by December 1st. The first option is to adopt a model ordinance, and they have a draft model ordinance out that considers impacts to species and their habitat and requires mitigation to meet what they call a no net loss of habitat standard. The second is to choose to require a habitat assessment and mitigation plan for development on a permit by permit basis. Or the third is to put in place a prohibition on floodplain development in the special flood hazard area. If a community fails to inform FEMA of its selection, they will default to the permit by permit PICM pathway, option number 2. Now, in certain situations, I really want to be on the forefront of adopting a code amendment. Previous examples are like the accessory dwelling units and the agritourism. Those, we helped with development of at least the agritourism, and so I wanted us to be one of the first counties to adopt those, and we were. In this case, I don't suggest being near the forefront on this issue for several reasons. First, we don't even yet have a final model ordinance from FEMA. What we have is a draft. FEMA staff have indicated that the final model ordinance will be issued sometime in December. My suggestion is to wait at least until the final ordinance is issued before we proceed. Second, the number of applications that we have is not high. I've looked over the floodplain applications for the past 5 years, and it varies between 5 to 10 applications per year. So that's a fairly small number of applications. And about a third of those requests deal with road or bridge repairs from Public Works or ODOT. Now, if these repairs are of existing bridges or roads, then it's unlikely even any mitigation will be required. It's only if you're going to be increasing the impact to the floodplain. The remaining applications are generally submitted in the spring. It's rare to have one submitted in the winter. We do occasionally get one, but I don't believe we'll probably have one until next year. Third, the political process is still in play based on letters submitted by the governor, state representatives, local governments, including Yamhill County. It's possible for a stay or delay to take place. Lastly, for both the sake of the public and for the sake of my office, I only want to do this once. When the county chooses to adopt a model ordinance, any text amendment requires holding public hearings with the Planning Commission and the board. Any ordinance that is more restrictive, and I believe this one will be, requires a Measure 56 notice, which requires our office to send out notice to all affected property owners. I asked Lance to look up the number of property owners that had floodplain on them, and he found that there are 3,900 accounts in the county that have some floodplain identified on the parcel. If we have to do a Measure 56 notice, and I believe we will, then we need to send that out to all those affected property owners. That will likely result in long hearings with a strong likelihood of appeals of any code that we adopt. Now, when considering this action, I always try to find out what other counties are doing, and I did find out that Clackamas County and Lincoln County are both proceeding full speed ahead with an ordinance. And that made me worry a little bit, am I making the right suggestion? And so I called my counterpart in Polk County. I figure they have very similar problems to Yamhill County. And Austin, their planning director, confirmed that for reasons similar to the ones I stated, their county is also going to hold back a bit to see how this plays out before proceeding with an ordinance. So I guess the one thing I'd like to ask is if the board would make a motion to approve option 2 to proceed with evaluating applications on a permit by permit basis. And I can try to answer questions. This is really a kind of a moving target. And so I'm not, I don't feel like I'm an expert in this. I feel like I have some knowledge about it, but I don't feel like I'm an expert in what they're trying to do.
So the wolves are at the door in terms of the attorneys and groups lining up to sue us once we pass an ordinance that violates state land use law. So so if we don't proceed and we sort of wait until December when they have not the draft, but the actual ordinance, aren't we putting at risk the people who have the insurance?
Well, right now, if we acknowledge that we're going to be doing it on a permit by permit basis, right now our code states that we are to abide by the federal regulatory standards. And I believe it's probably in all the codes throughout the state. And so I would just point to the fact that FEMA has adopted these regulations. And so I would apply directly the draft code that they've given us on a permit by permit basis. But I want to wait until we have the final code before proceeding with trying to adopt it.
Okay, so we can vote now before December 1st to, is it adopt a draft ordinance?
It's not to adopt a draft ordinance, is to tell FEMA that we would be proceeding on a case by case
permit by
basis.
permit.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
we
we
don't
look
have
at each
to,
case, permit by permit. We look at each permit that came in to see if we need to do or require the applicant to do any mitigation. And then we would require that mitigation in any land use approval we had with a floodplain permit.
okay.
So there have been many attempts at the state and with our congressional delegation, from what I understand, to try to rein this in, because this is a bureaucratic nightmare. You're looking at, even if there's just a 1% chance of flooding on anybody's property, they would come under that category from what I'm reading, a 1% chance in any given year.
Correct.
So you're looking at, just in our county alone, 3,900 property owners who are having their flood insurance weaponized.
Mhm.
And I'm editorializing here, but this is significant because it's unelected bureaucrats that are making this decision. And this is another attempt to, in my estimation, make it harder and harder for people to live and operate and use their own property for that with which they probably bought it. It's another attempt to restrict, kind of like the wildfire mapping. We're going to make it harder for you to be on your property, harder for you to get fire insurance, harder for you to get flood insurance. And it is the endangered species is the human being here. So indulge me while I just rant, because this is maddening. You've got, environmental groups that are weaponizing something that people need to have on their property. There are only, 5 counties in Oregon that wouldn't necessarily be impacted by
Correct.
this?
Yeah.
So I think it's maddening that they're not even responding to letters,
Mhm.
to requests, it is almost like they're thumbing their nose at all of our attempts to bring some reason to this.
Well, not to mention that the state already allows development on these areas. So
Yeah.
we're now having to violate state land use laws by pushing this forward. It puts us we're in a rock and a hard place at this point.
Is there any movement that you have heard that there would be a way to put this on hold? The reason I'm saying that is because I know that with the WOTUS, the Waters of the U.S., that whole thing, and that kind of got, it started under Obama and then it got reversed under Trump. And so people were not having to consider, a puddle on their land as a water body. And I'm just thinking that maybe with a change in administration, we could see that if we had some time to push back on it, because this is unfair to people. I know you're the messenger.
Yep,
I just
that's right.
need to rant.
Is your case by case basis by permit, isn't that our delay of this? Or is it an implementation? Because if you don't pick any
it's
of
kind
them,
of
it
both.
automatically picks for you, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Or, there is always the just say no option, which I can read what the penalties are, if you like, if they do end up kicking us out of the floodplain program.
It's pretty dire.
Yeah, it's pretty
I mean,
dire.
I don't want to go that option and then put our
But
folks at risk.
in
but-
answer to your question, it's a little bit of both of, we are delaying But on the person that comes in to ask for a permit as of December 1st, we would be applying whatever the habitat requirements are in their draft. And then before we adopt a final plan, whatever the habitat requirements are in their final model ordinance
But-
until we can adopt our own ordinance.
But still under our review and our opinion of our department, correct?
Yes, but we're required to report as of January next year. We're going to be required to report, my understanding is monthly to FEMA, any permits that we're going through and the reporting requirements are still being evaluated, but you have to, of course, say who the applicant is, project title, project description, project location and size of the riparian buffer zone, what it's going to affect in the floodplain or floodway, the amount of fill added and compensatory storage created, the area of clearing and grading that occurred, the amount of new impervious surfaces added, the type and amount of water quality mitigation provided, the number of trees removed and their size, and the number of new trees planted. So FEMA's seems like they're going to be tracking this closely to make sure every jurisdiction is following their model ordinance.
Sure. I know it's already very few that we're discussing here because a third of them were almost in-house with like Public Works but if there happened to be one between now and January 1, would that then fall under the reporting requirements on January 1? Or is it any permit starting January 1 that would have to be reported?
My understanding is December 1, that in January, I'm going to be reporting on what happened in
In December,
December.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So none of them are really good options.
No.
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
So, okay, so the timeline though is we have a December 1st deadline to at least notify. We don't have to do anything else. We just notify. Then we're waiting for the model ordinance to come out at some point before the end of the year. And then we would look at adopting that through a process of public hearings. All of those notices have to go out.
Correct.
Okay.
But we're only notifying,
3,900.
A third of
no,
that.
Yeah.
well, but on a case-by-case basis, we are only notifying
Oh.
if a permit comes up, correct?
Once if we, the board goes forward with adopting the model ordinance, then we have to notify the folks that we're adopting a model ordinance and this model ordinance is more restrictive and, the property owner needs to be aware of that.
Right, but that doesn't pertain to the one that you're
It-
recommending that is the,
Right. It doesn't
Case by
pertain
case.
to December 1st.
what is the cost of, I guess, letting all the 3,900 property owners?
I figure it's about a dollar to $1.25 per property owner, depending on how, at least in the past, that's what it's been when we've had to do a Measure 56 notice. I haven't, looked at the postal rates lately to see if that is still the same, but it's at least going to be $1 for every person that we're sending direct notice to.
Right, okay.
And there are going to be some duplicates on the list of 3,900, and we do our best to try to call those, but it's going to be a lot of folks. And if you think, well, okay, if you're notifying 3,000 people and 10% of them call the office and half of those show up to a hearing just to testify, that's going to be a long hearing.
Right.
Mhm.
Thank you, FEMA.
I'm all right with the case-by-case basis.
Okay. Well, so we just need consensus. Is that-
I can go with consensus. I don't know.
Did you say you needed a formal action or a motion?
I don't mind consensus. If there are no objections to me doing that, I will just notify FEMA that we will be going on a case-by-case basis.
Option 2 or whatever. All right.
Agreed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That is the close of our work session. Item G is consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item H, old business, nothing today. Item I is other business. I1 is consideration of approval of a grant agreement between Yamhill County and Lyrica Networks, Inc. for the purpose of deploying broadband access to unserved and underserved communities throughout the unincorporated areas of Unionville, Hopewell, and Wheatland in Yamhill County in the amount of $2,697,372.15, effective for 24 months upon full execution. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any editorial comments now that we're here?
I have some. but
Thank
you-
God.
Yeah.
It's been a long
Oh,
road.
We have no editorial.
No editorial comments.
I will say this is, out of all the ones we chose, I think this is a good area because I'm already seeing, there must have been other contracts awarded down Wallace Road
Mhm.
because they're already laying some form of utility. I'm assuming that it's fiber, but they're doing work all the way from West Salem now headed down Wallace Road towards this area. So
That's good.
hopefully there's going to be two projects that end up interconnecting here that make it even better.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for all of your hard work and persistence on this. And the team that we hired to sort of look at this, I think was pretty great. So
Yeah,
very
thank you.
informative.
Thank you.
Okay, so Commissioner Starrett moved approval. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, same sign. Great, motion passes. Thank you. I2 is consideration of approval for the Department of Community Justice to submit a grant application for the CIS Public Safety Grant for the 2024-25 fiscal year. This is for equipment for in-house training on defensive tactics, and a lot of these safety training is related to their required DPSST certifications. But not only protects the safety of the folks that the clients that we have, but also our parole and probation officers. So I will move approval of item I2. Any further discussion?
None.
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Ken wouldn't have known if you guys wouldn't have said anything. Oh, man. My wife's probably listening too.
Item J is public hearing. There's nothing today, and that brings us to item K, which is announcements. Last Thursday night, Commissioner Johnston and I had the pleasure of attending the Willamina Trunk or Treat event. It was an awesome turnout. And Kit was the star of the show because he brought a tent with a heater and it was pouring down
course he
rain
did.
and everybody
Yeah.
everybody loved that. So that was pretty cool. Obviously we had an election this week, and I want to thank our county clerk and her team, and the election workers that she's got there. They have been putting in countless hours, long days, and we just really appreciate them. This was a tough election. There were unfortunately, a lot of security threats heading up into this election, and thank goodness none of that happened here, but lots of stress for them heading into the election. So I just want to thank them and make sure that they know that they're valued. Last night we had our Lafayette City County dinner. Mayor Malcolmson hosted, and she officially has the award of finishing the city county dinner early. It was 27 minutes ahead of schedule.
Should have gone to that one, Ken.
Yep.
because
Yeah.
we
The
were
one
out
that
of
you
there
don't go
like-
to, it just flat.
Like 7:30.
It honestly, it wrapped, I'm just like, it's done now.
I know. He said,
my
that's
gosh.
it. And we were in a firehouse, so they all they wanted us out, and I thought, this is the way to do it. So we had tones going off and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff, but They did a wonderful job. I have to say, Mayor Malcolmson is one of the, she's just warm and inviting and a really good example of a citizen, just a servant. She's such a
Yes.
servant. They do
Yes.
such a great job.
They were worried about the sound of the PA system, like, echoing. So she brought her curtains in from her house and she set up her curtains around the system. She's just a mover and shaker.
She's
I love
great.
it. So,
She's great.
but great to see everybody in here, hear the updates on that. And then tonight is the Yamhill County Farm Bureau dinner. I don't know if anybody's going to that. That's out on the museum. Coming up, I just want to acknowledge the Marine Corps birthday.
Hoorah.
Hoorah. It's my brother-in-law is a Marine and his birthday is on the Marine Corps birthday, so pretty cool. And then obviously Veterans Day, and just thank all of our veterans. We will be at I don't know what the title is, the parade this weekend,
Veterans Day Parade,
which is Veterans Day
Yeah.
parade, but
10 a.m.,
McMinnville.
3rd Street.
Praise parking lot.
Yeah.
They have
I'll
to-
pivot off that really quick. We're going to have a veteran driving one of our Yamhill County dump trucks in the parade. So that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Come check it out.
Wind up in the OMI parking lot for a ceremony they typically have in the past. And they have usually a fire truck with a flag on top. So it's a really nice ceremony.
Nice.
And I just want to acknowledge all the veterans that we have working here for the county as well. Thank you for your service. Are there any further announcements?
None.
Nothing? Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Let's see. I will adjourn the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal session for November 7th.